The Arizona Cardinals should bring back Kyzir White. Who else should they bring back? Who should they let go? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner, and follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, leave a review where reviews are left if you so desire. Hit that like button. You know the drill. Everydayers, thanks for hanging around. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, thank you. Just finished the 8th season hosting this podcast, Mid Sports Radio in Phoenix since 2011. So I said it was going to be the most exciting, and it was. We didn't really know what it looked like or what it was going to look like, but yeah, it was exciting nonetheless. And 2025 is going to be even more exciting. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or lose your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So we're going to start to formulate thoughts on what this roster should look like come 2025. And early on, really what you can focus on is the players that are already here and the players that are unrestricted free agents, the players who have made an impact, who haven't made an impact as much as you'd like, and anywhere in between. This is where you start to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and say, you know what, okay, who are the guys you want to go into battle with in 2025? This roster will probably look quite different from a veteran perspective. But you'll also have Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones coming back. So you'll have interior defensive line veteran leadership and veteran help, even though, they're not top flight guys. And the majority of people I'm going to be talking about are not top flight guys, but that doesn't matter. The importance is still there. And I'll start with Kyzir White. I think the Cardinals should 100% bring him back. Let me explain under the lens by which I think that. Okay. Who else should they resign? I'll talk about it in the next segment. And who should they let walk? Final segment. So the Kyzir White thing is interesting. He's been great since he's been here, since he's come here. And what I mean by great is he wasn't brought here to be an all-pro because he's not an all-pro. He wasn't brought here to be a Pro Bowler every year because he's not a Pro Bowler every year. What he was brought here to do was relay the momentum from the defense that Jonathan Gannon coached in Philly to here. This team was very lost at the end of the 2022 season, if you don't remember. I'm sure you do. I'm not saying that in a patronizing way. There was no true north. There was no direction. Vance Joseph was gone. What next? And they hired Jonathan Gannon. Makes a risky move, you would think, by the dictionary definition of what a defensive coordinator is age-wise, made a risky move by bringing over linebacker coach Nick Rallis from Philly to be his defensive coordinator at the ripe old age of 30. And bringing Kyzir White over on a 2-year deal to kind of be the heartbeat for the center of the defense was a genius move. It was a genius move. Very team-friendly contract. And by contract numbers, he's met or exceeded through performance. Sure, he's not great in coverage. He's very good against the run. And the reason why bringing him back, in my opinion, would behoove the Cardinals for this next wave of, 2025, 2026, 2027 is, first of all, he's played in this defense longer than anybody on the Cardinals because he did it in Philly. And I know that they've they've got their base defense, but it's a very funky defense. It's very just throw players on the field who work well together and deserve to be there and just go make stuff happen. Kyzir White also was in coverage, just like the corners were this year, without any sort of semblance of a pass rush for 85% of the season. So it's not an excuse. It's not really a reason either. It's just a fact. The Cardinals' pass rush was terrible this year. So when you look at the impact that he's made on this team, and you look at how much this defense has progressed, he is a wildly integral part of that. And the next lens that maybe I should have mentioned early on, I'm not saying they should give him max money. He's not a max player. And that's why I don't think this is something that, like, it's been ruffling feathers. Like, because he for those that missed it, he put on his Instagram, "Thank you, AZ," with a picture. And usually when players do that, that means that they're going to test free agency at least. He's an unrestricted free agent. That doesn't mean he won't come back. That doesn't mean he won't get offered more money to play somewhere else. That also doesn't mean that he's going to want to, abandon is a wrong word, he's going to want to remove himself from what they're building on the defensive side of the ball in Arizona. It's very early, obviously. The 2024 season hasn't ended yet. And he's going to test the waters, as well he should. The reason why it would benefit the Cardinals to re-sign him, one, he's lived above his contract, for sure. He's leveled up this defense. When Mac Wilson came in, dynamic duo in the middle of the field. Are they elite? They don't have to be. They are average to above average linebackers who've played very well since coming over here. And they don't break the bank with their contract. Now, while Kyzir White's going to want more money than he got when he came over here, of course, and that's something that he should get from the Cardinals and be offered from the Cardinals, it would feel like starting over a little bit. You don't want to lose pieces at this point. And I'll talk about some that you don't mind losing. But you don't want to lose main cogs of the defense. And again, while he wasn't great in coverage, that's not something that should stick out as a sore thumb without any sort of reason as to why. Pass rush was bad. Not taking him off the hook completely, but the Cardinals defense as an entity this year played out of their shoes. And he was a big part of that. And one last thing, and this is more theory-based. I'll dive deeper into this as we continue through the offseason. But one of the biggest things that I've said is once the Cardinals start winning, that will build momentum that this organization hasn't ever really had, which is attracting free agents that want to come play here and not just for the last paycheck. And this one is a little nuanced. It's a little different where if they're able to re-sign Kyzir White, I feel it will show a massive shift from the Arizona Cardinals of old to the Arizona Cardinals now, where you can retain guys, the middle guys, the B plus guys, pay them good money, but not overspend and not lowball them to make them want to leave. This is a perfectly manicured time for Monty Osford, Jonathan Gannon, and everybody else to say, you know what? We want you back. You're a leader on this defense. Great things are coming. Here's the offer. Let's roll. And I mean, unless he gets wild money elsewhere, I don't see this as like listen, if this is a Christian Kirk situation, and Kyzir White has had much more of an impact on this team than Christian Kirk. I know they're different positions, but Christian Kirk got monopoly money from Jacksonville. And also the Cardinals probably weren't going to bring him back anyways. And also he got monopoly money from Jacksonville. So it wasn't even and he probably wanted out at that point anyways with what was going on. This is different. He's an impact player. He is an important player for this culture, for this team, for the foundation of this team. And he has been since snap one coming over in 2023. I think it'd be beneficial for the Cardinals to retain his services if it doesn't break the bank. And if he re-signs with the Cardinals on a non-blockbustery, not block, but like for his level. Like if it's not like 30 mil guaranteed or something like that. Well, listen, they gave Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones that kind of money. Kyzir White definitely deserves that kind of money. Definitely. You bring him back for that, doesn't break the bank, and he comes back and re-signs for that instead of taking maybe some money elsewhere, that's a massive shift, or the beginning of what could be a massive shift for this new generation of the Arizona Cardinals. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Who else should the Cardinals bring back? The list is kind of short, and I think that's a fantastic thing. Shedding contracts, getting people off the roster who, don't benefit this team anymore. We'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. When we're getting to the playoffs, the future's who's going to win the Super Bowl. There's some juicy numbers there. I mean, obviously, the Chiefs are favored. Then you've got the likes of Detroit and Baltimore next. You want to put a future in? FanDuel's waiting for you, baby. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So the Kyzir White thing, it's kind of like a case study. He has no real ties here, aside from the last couple of years. He followed his defensive coordinator and his LB coach. Maybe they have bigger plans for that position, which is possible. But if the money's right, he's well performed through his current contract that's up now. And listen, if they let him go, it's not going to break the back of this defense. But from what we've seen so far, aside from the pass rush, the Cardinals got something cooking. And I wonder if that's enough for him to stay, or if Baltimore calls him, they're like, hey, we'll give you the same amount. Cool, I'm out. Who knows? Who else should the Cardinals bring back? Here's a couple guys who are unrestricted free agents who I think the Cardinals should bring back. Will Hernandez, 100%. Okay. Will Hernandez is an integral part of this team. The offensive line floundered something at the end of the season. The last 6 weeks of the season, they weren't the same. Will Hernandez played very, very well until he got hurt. They definitely missed him at right guard. I think you extend him, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. This is where it gets a little fluid, a little murky, because the draft, we're 100 days away from the draft, 105 days away from the draft, and free agency is before that. So obviously things are going to change. You're going to see some different things, especially when the signing period begins, where this will start to formulate. But first, just glance at the unrestricted free agency list. I think you bring back Will Hernandez, no question about it. He's not going to garner $20 million a year. He likes being here. I think it's a no doubt or set and forget. And you've got your offensive line. You got 4 out of 5 pieces of your offensive line pretty much set with Paris Johnson, Yalta Frold, Will Hernandez, and Jonah Williams, at least for next year. And that brings up Evan Brown, who played left guard for the majority of this season. He played fine. I wonder with him what the contract would be like. That's kind of where it is. Is it a 1-year deal? I don't think you're signing him to a longer than a 2-year deal. I think it's going to be much, much lower impact. And as you see with these names, we're not looking at, massive contracts. So you can bring back a majority of these guys. Just see what happens with Isaiah Adams, the offensive lineman they drafted last draft. See what happens. See what they do in the draft. Are they going to draft a tackle or a left guard in the draft? You also at this point need to start thinking about center. Not because Yalta Frold's going anywhere, but if he were to ever miss time, you can't Rodney Hudson this. There's got to be guys like John Gaines was supposed to be that guy. We'll see still with him if he could play left guard or center if Yalta Frold did get hurt. But I do think Evan Brown and then Kelvin Beachum. Kelvin Beacham's a tough one because he'd probably take $1 million, $1.5 million. He's been valuable, and I know he's getting older, but. And it's not like a devil situation by any stretch, because he's, by and large, Kelvin Beachum has been great. That was one of Steve Keim's better offseason signings. After the Andre Smith debacle, Steve Keim got one right with Kelvin Beachum. Another great locker room guy. He's 36, okay? So, I get I get, move off from it's fine. It's move off. But I mean, still, we'll see. Those are kind of all like grouped together. Not Will Hernandez, but like Evan Brown, Kelvin Beachum. We'll see. That depends on their plans from the offensive line position through free agency and the draft. LJ Collier, I think, has been fine. He made 1.2 last year. I'd bring him back for sure. Baron Browning, I'd bring back for sure. Again, very low impact, 26-year-old pass rusher. And you'll see where I say to move off of players, why Baron Browning. He made an impact. It's difficult when you're on an island. Darius Robinson didn't produce very well this year. When you're on an island, there's little to no internal pressure to kind of collapse the pocket from the interior. This has kind of been a weird year for pass rushers. Like, how do you gauge pass rushers and their effectiveness when the best pass rusher the Cardinals had was Backers and Budda Baker? So it'll be fascinating to see what they do. But I think Baron Browning, again, this is all predicated upon money. But I do think, depending on that, I feel like it would be a no-doubter to bring him back. Greg Dortch is a restricted free agent. I do think the Cardinals need to, here's the thing, make a decision. Give him 3 years or let him walk. This 1 year thing over and over and over again, let him walk. If you're not, let him free. If you're not gonna let him free agency, if you're not gonna extend it. I would give him 2 year guaranteed money, without a restricted free agency part at the end. Give him a normal contract. Whenever he gets the ball, he produces. And we talk about this every offseason, every preseason, at the end of every season. And it just doesn't really happen in the middle. And there are guys in the middle, Roy Lopez, I'd probably bring back. He's a good locker room guy. He produced pretty well this year. And all of these guys are making little to no, under $1 million. The questionable ones are like Jesse Luketa and Victor Dimukeji, draft picks from a handful of years ago, who never really amounted to a bunch. But, special teams guys like Jesse Luketa, it depends on what they want. I'm sure those guys will be on the practice squad. You need depth at that position, but you only need depth at that position when you don't have that kind of depth at that position, when you don't have absolute bangers from the edge position, from the pass rush position. And I think that's what they're going to focus on this offseason, obviously, and then through the draft. We saw, I think it was a 45% retention rate from the roster from 2022 to 2023. It was obviously less from 2023 to 2024. And I think that you're going to see somewhat of a mass exodus from the fringe practice squad guys. I think it's just time. Who should those players be the Cardinals let walk? I'll discuss that next as we get to the more somber one where people, the NFL is a tough game, man. The NFL is a tough business, but I don't know. It's just tough. When I'm looking at this list, it's like these guys have been here for a while. These guys have been here forever, and you see them pop up towards the end of the seasons with injuries and things like that. You heard it here first, but now people are all talking about, the Cardinals will trade for Micah Parsons. Should have listened to me 3 months ago, man. And Marcus Mosher, host of Locked On Cowboys, good buddy of mine, he is friends with Jesse Luketa, like family friends almost. And Jesse Luketa and Micah Parsons are best friends from their time at Penn State. So do with that as you wish. We're gonna have so much time to talk about free agency. It's gonna be It's going to be bonkers. Who should the Cardinals let walk next? Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. It's playoff time. And if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of playoff action. That's why Prize Picks comes in hot. If you love football and want a chance to win real money while watching the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy projections. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on player stats, like total passing yards or rushing yards, and first shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds, and whether you're looking for a flex play or boost your payout or want to cash out quickly, Prize Picks has got you covered. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, it's clear that people are loving this platform. Here's a special offer for Locked On NFL listeners. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Prize Picks. Run your game. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions I didn't even know I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscription, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. My buddy Bo Brock, former co-host of mine here, now with PHNX Cardinals, is going to join me tomorrow. I'm going to pick his brain about the things that we've been talking about, the offseason. If this season was a success, what's down the road, some other cool stuff. Always good having my dear friend on the show. Who the Cardinals let walk? I think it's time for the Matt Prater experiment to be over. Not experiment. Matt Prater time to be over. He's 41. Was put on IR. Chad Ryland's shown enough to at least compete for the starting kicker role next year. He's been good more than bad, which is good. Kicking's tough nowadays, man. Teams cycle through kickers. You've got a young guy, got cut by New England, came in and kicked a couple game-winning kicks for the Cardinals, kicked that 57-yard, 56-yard, 57-yard, 58-yard bomb against Carolina to send the game to overtime, to keep the Cardinals' playoff hopes alive and season alive at that point. So, yeah, I think it's time to move off of Matt Prater. I think Dennis Gardeck, I think, if he wants to come back for not as much, he was making $3.3 million last year. He got hurt early in the season. You want him back. He's a great. He's been a Cardinal for a long time. He's a killer. He's got the best sack dance, in my opinion, in the NFL, with the inverted raise the roof. Yeah, the inverted raise the roof with the knee bounces. I think that's great. But unless he's brought back as just what he's good at, a situational pass rusher, I think it may be time to say goodbye to the 31-year-old Dennis Gardeck. Zay Jones just didn't work. I feel bad for it. I feel bad for Zay Jones. Zay Jones is a good wide receiver. He's a wide receiver 3+. He's a good wide receiver, and he was pretty much forgotten on this offense. It was just so run heavy and so Trey McBride heavy. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson played fine. We're going to have an interesting conversation about Michael Wilson next year, depending on what happens this year. There's just not a lot of ball to go around when Trey – and that's fine. I mean, this offense – when the offense hummed, it hummed. But I can't help but think you get Greg Dortch more involved, you get Michael Wilson more involved. It spreads everything out. It keeps opposing defenses honest, and you can move the ball down the field a little bit more. But we'll see. Zay Jones, sorry, didn't work, unfortunately. I was super stoked when they signed him, so I was wrong about that. Not wrong. I just think that it ended up being wrong because he didn't really have an impact. I don't know if it was necessarily his fault. Again, talking about guys like Victor DeMcCage, Jesse Luketa, Julian Okwara, 3 edge rushers, Zach Pascal, 2-year guy who, remember they signed Zach Pascal 2 years ago? Yeah, me either. He, again, consummate pro, played special teams, played wide receiver everywhere else he was, and special teams. He was pretty much a special teams guy, especially last year for the Cardinals. And the Kelvin Beachum one is just interesting. I don't really know. I don't really know. Because I think that when thrust into action, he was above serviceable this year. And you can never have too many offensive linemen that you trust. So we'll see. Very low impact with the guys like Evan Brown, and Will Hernandez should get a contract extension from the Cardinals. I don't think that that's going to be a thing. I think they're going to put pen to paper pretty quickly with him. But yeah, we'll see about the rest. It's very, very early, naturally. The 2024 season isn't over yet, but that's going to do it for today's episode. Please go to the YouTube channel again. Hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on if you want to leave a like for this video. Trying to get to 50 likes starting in 2025. 50 likes a show. Would love to start that now. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.